This practice is getting to know your pelvis. We're going to do a series of movements and things that we can explore in our body to become aware of, whether they be compensation patterns, breath holding, bracing, or where you feel really good. So we're just going to start laying down on the floor. For this practice, you'll need 2 blocks, a strap, and a blanket, and a chair, and a ball if you have one. So we'll just start lying on your back. You can have a blanket under your head if you'd like that for comfort. And as you lie down on your back, have your feet flat on the floor, knees bent. And just taking a moment to settle into this position. Feel the contact points of your feet on the floor, the back of your pelvis, your torso, shoulders and arms, and the back of your head. Coming into some nice, gentle, easy breaths. Knowing that we want to carry this relaxed pace into our whole practice. So we're not pushing or rushing or straining. Really listening to the whispers of our body. So place your hands right on the front of the pelvis. Palms can be over the 2 hip points or somewhere along the lower belly. And just begin to tilt your pelvis. And how we'll do that is we'll either become aware of the pubic bone in the front, or maybe you identify more with the tailbone in the back. Either of those places, start to tilt the pelvis backwards. So the pubic bone will tilt towards the navel, or you could think about it that the tailbone is coming away from the floor a little bit more. And then go ahead and let your pelvis relax. You might also feel that the lower back is pressing into the floor a bit more as you're tilting. So you're not using your feet too much here, and you're not gripping through your abdominals. Your lower abdominals will do a little bit of work to help create that pelvic tilting action. Nice and easy, a couple more times. With as little effort as possible to move through this pelvic tilting. And then just pause that a moment, and notice what you feel in your body. Now I'm going to take my ball. So you can use a tennis ball, you could use a massage ball of any kind. And we're going to place the ball under the right side of the bum. So the right bum cheek. So you'll lie back down, place the ball under the right side of your buttocks. And keeping your pelvis down on the floor. Of course, the right side will be a little bit lifted just because of the ball being under there. And just kind of find about the middle of the buttocks. Keeping your feet on the floor, knees up towards the sky. We'll slowly drop the right knee out to the side and then bring the knee back up to the sky. Knee falls out a little to the side and then bring the knee back up towards the sky. And as you're doing this, you can do like 3 times, 3 repetitions. And then move the ball to another spot on the right bum cheek. So you can go a little bit to the right with the ball, or a little to the left, or a little higher up, a little lower down. Each time repeating 3 knee drops out to the side. And the whole while here, now place your hands on the front of your pelvis. Just become aware if your pelvis is doing a lot of tilting or rocking. And we want to keep the pelvis quiet by moving in a range with your leg bone where the pelvis doesn't move. So just a couple more spots here. These half knee drops. Nice and easy breath. Okay, and then we'll take the ball away. And let's take the ball over to the left bum cheek now. So place the ball underneath your left buttocks. And just pausing there, feel the weight of your body resting on the ball. Come back into that easy breathing. And then we'll do knee drops. A little bit out to the side. And again, you may want to keep your hands on the front of your pelvis again so that you can be aware to only move as far as the pelvis stays quiet. And after 3 repetitions, move the ball to a new spot. You'll feel maybe some sweet spots there as you move the ball around. So you can go a little lower towards the lower part of the bum, maybe a little higher, or a little bit farther to the left or the right. You can always pause the video if you want to explore this a little bit longer. We're helping to improve the way the leg bone moves in the pelvis and releasing some of the muscles in the buttocks. And then just take the ball away, lying back down. Just notice what you're feeling there. Notice any release in the buttocks muscles or in the legs, whatever's arising in the moment. All right, and then we're going to scoot yourself over to a wall or the back of a door, and we're going to take our legs up the wall. So when you bring your legs up the wall, you want to sit about 8 inches or so away from the wall, and then come down onto your side and have your blanket ready for your head, and then swing your legs. So you roll onto your back and swing your legs up the wall. And again, we don't need to have the bum against the wall. We want to have some space between the wall and the back of your pelvis here. So having your feet up the wall, and again, just taking a moment to let the legs relax. Feel the tops of the thighs settle down into the sockets of the hips. Feeling your hands come onto your front of your pelvis again, and come back to your gentle breathing. And now with your right leg, keeping a small little bend in your right leg, we're just going to rotate the leg in and out. So you can watch this if you like. We want to have the movement come through the thigh bone, and the knee and the foot are following. So I'm not just moving my foot or my lower leg, but I'm generating this movement from the top of my thigh bone where it meets the pelvis. And again, the pelvis itself doesn't have to rock or tilt in order for me to make this movement. So just doing a few here, and then pause. And let's do the left leg now. So a little bend in the left knee, and then rotating the thigh bone in the hip socket. Hands on the pelvis, just to remind yourself to breathe easy and feel how quiet your pelvis can stay even as you move your leg. Coming back into center, come back into stillness and breathe. And then with your feet here on the wall, I'm just going to slowly flex and point the foot, both feet. So when I do this, my toes are not driving this motion. Hopefully, I can have the toes be the passengers. So when I direct my awareness to the back of my heels, and I can feel them sliding up and down the wall, I think about the movement of the heel going up and the heel pulling down. Heel pressing up, heel pulling down, so that the motion is coming more from my ankle than from my toes. The knees themselves stay pretty quiet, and the legs and thighs, pelvis all stay quiet. And you might even watch what's occurring in your neck or your jaw, because sometimes we use our neck and shoulders to move our feet. And again, if you're noticing that, no judgment there, just being curious and see if you can move in a range where you don't use your neck, your jaw, or your shoulders. And then let that go and just take a couple breaths here. This legs up the wall is rejuvenating for the legs at any time of day and can be done by itself as just a little break for yourself. To come out of the pose, bend the knees, roll over to one side, and just stay there for a couple of breaths before coming back up away from the floor. Okay, so we've done legs up the wall now. I'd like to come up into standing. And once again, you'll want to have your ball, so you can bring yourself up into standing. Now, I like to have a chair handy, just for my balance. So I'm going to place the chair so that I can hold the back of the chair. And I place the ball under my foot. And then just rolling the ball forward and backwards under the bottom of your foot. And you can go slowly or a little quicker. Just find a pace that works good for you. This helps to release tension in the bottom of the foot, and it also helps to build your proprioception, which is your awareness of the body parts in space. And when we're more aware of our body parts in space, we can become more aware of how we're doing our daily activities. We become more aware of our yellow lights, or the whispers in our body that might be saying, not sure if this feels so good. Maybe I should try a different way, or maybe I should take a little break. It's when we can start to become more aware of how we're moving through our body throughout the day and take little breaks as needed, whether that be a glass of water, a walk around your house, taking your legs up the wall for a couple of minutes. Just a way to continue to nurture and support yourself. Okay, and then we'll take the ball away, and now we'll do the other foot. So, just going to bring the ball under my other foot here, and roll the ball slowly forward and back. Just getting some nice release to the bottom of my foot. Your feet have a great connection to your legs and your pelvis, and really all the way up your body through your shoulders and your head. So when we have more suppleness in our feet, when our feet are more able to feel the ground and move over uneven surfaces when we're outside, like going over a rock or even stepping into a rut or something. If we have more suppleness, more pliability, we'll have less chance of spraining an ankle or falling. Right? So having nice supple feet is super important for longevity and well-being. So we'll just do a couple more, little sweeps through side to side here, or front and back. Then go ahead and take the ball. Take your foot away, and I like to stand a minute and just notice what I feel for my feet. They feel kind of vibrant and nice and energized underneath. So we'll take the ball somewhere where you won't, where it won't be something that you might trip on. Okay, and then we're going to grab a block and still have your hand on your chair. Take your block and we'll step up onto the block with the leg that's closest to the chair. So you want to make sure that you have the heel on the block at least. If your toes hang off a little bit, if you have a second block, you can actually place that in front. So this would be the first block, this would be the second block. So it makes a longer surface if you happen to have a longer foot. So my toes tend to hang off just a little bit, so I'm going to use 2 here. So I've got the heel and the ball of my foot and the toes a little bit onto the block. Now as I step up onto the block here, just want to make sure that you're not kicking your side of your pelvis off to the side as you come up. So what we don't want to do is something like this. You can see that my pelvis wanted to shift there. So as I stand on this leg, I slowly come up and the pelvis is nice and steady. Now this, I'll call this the swinging leg. I'm just going to take it and swing a little forward and back. And you can put your other hand on your pelvis here and just feel that your pelvis stays relatively still. So the movement is small in the legs that's swinging. This helps to free up some of the hip muscles, and it's also giving you some nice strength to the standing leg, the leg that's on the blocks. And then let the leg come back into stillness, and then we'll step back and come off the block. Okay? And then we're going to step back up, same leg, once again. Be aware of how you're stepping up onto the block, keeping that nice steady stance. Now, outer hand on the hip here, on the pelvis, and we're just going to take the leg out to the side and back in, out to the side and back in. Now, what we're aiming for here, if you can watch where this hand right here is we don't want to hike this pelvis up towards the shoulder. So the movement is coming through the thigh, taking the leg out, leg in. So it won't be probably very far out to the side because we're intentionally wanting to move the leg only as far as the pelvis doesn't hike. You'll feel a lot of nice work in this standing leg. Okay, and then we'll step back. Now let's do the other side. So take your chair over on the other side of the blocks. And now we'll step up slowly, and again being conscious that we step up nice and strong. First, we'll just let the leg float forward, back a little. You can have your hand at the top of your pelvis here. Just feel that your pelvis stays relatively still. We want to be relaxed, and don't forget to breathe. And just swinging your leg forward and back. Swinging the leg, nice and easy. And then we'll step back, take a moment, step your both feet back to the floor. Okay, now we'll, one more time, same leg. We'll step up, consciously, not consciously steady through the hip there. And then we're going to take the leg to side and down, side and down, side and down. And again, this, we don't want to have this happen. Okay, because when we do that, we're not even really using the hip joint at all. We're just using the spine up here. So you may feel this actually more in your standing leg than you do the floating leg, but they're both good. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and step back. And just take a moment to stand in mountain pose. Notice what you're feeling here. You might notice your feet connected to the earth a little bit more. You might feel like you're standing a little taller. Okay, and then we'll take those props away. And from here, I'm going to take my chair away as well. We're going to do one more. Make sure my chair doesn't fall there. One more standing pose called goddess pose. So from mountain pose, step your feet about outer shoulder width apart. Place your hands on the top of your legs. Bend the knees a tiny bit, and then pick up the ball of your right foot, so the heel's down, and spin your leg bone out to the side a little bit. Pick the ball of the left foot up, stay on the heel, and spin the left leg out a little bit. So now your legs are turned out, the feet are turned out slightly. Bring your hands right to the crease at the top of the legs and sit back into goddess pose. Now with this sitting back, I'll show it from the side. You can put your hands to your lower glutes, so you're sitting back into your hands. What we don't want to have happen is the knees just pop forward. We want to have the harmony between the hip joint, the knee joint, and the ankle joint. So as you're sitting back, there's a bend back into your hands, okay? And knees will bend as a result of that as well. So sitting back, it doesn't have to be super far here. Now, take your hands right to the mid-thighs on the outside, middle thighs on the outside. Keep the weight nice and even through your feet and press your legs back into your hands. Pressing the legs back into the hands. Find your breath. Goddess pose. Keep the pressing of the legs into the hands as you bring your hands to your heart. So now you're keeping that awareness of pressing the legs out into imaginary hands as your hands come to the heart. Take 3 more breaths in goddess pose. Feel the strength through your legs. And after your 3rd breath, straighten the legs and come all the way back up. And return back into mountain pose. Take a moment just to check in. Notice what you feel. Nice, easy breathing. All right. Now from here, we're going to take about 5 minutes into a relaxation. So I'm going to grab my chair again. And I really love legs up on the chair. So I'm going to place my chair on my mat. Grab some blanket for under my head. Take your yoga belt and make a loop in your strap. So we're going to be placing the belt around our middle upper thighs. So make your loop and then come down onto the floor and bring your legs up onto the chair. So the backs of your knees meet the chair seat. And then adjust your blanket wherever you need to, so that when you lie down, your blanket is under your head. Of course, you can get really nice and cozy and cover yourself with a blanket. You could also find like a scarf or an old t-shirt or something and cover your eyes. Covering your eyes can be so restful, especially if you do a lot of work on the computer. So covering your eyes it's called pratyahara in yoga speak, and it means withdrawal of the senses. So if we can withdraw our senses inward, we can become more in tune with the body and the breathing, and not let the extraneous distractions around us kind of get in the way of our relaxation. So as you're here, and take your strap now, the loop in your belt, and place it around the middle of your thighs. And we're going to just snug it up so that it stays nice and steady there. And just let your legs relax out into the belt. And from here, we'll just bring your hands back to your torso, allowing your body to come back into stillness. And as you start to settle into this pose, again becoming aware of the contact points of the body that meet your supports or meet the earth. Backs of the heels, backs of the calves, the sacrum, lower back, back of your torso, shoulder blades, arms, back of your head. Giving away the weight of your body to the supports beneath you. Letting yourself relax. And feel the easy flow of your breath. The rise on the inhale and the fall on the exhale. Feel the breath moving under your hands, all on its own. As thoughts arise, allow them to flow by. Coming back to the flow of your breath. And then becoming aware of the room around you once again. The space above you, to the right side, to the left side, and below. If you like here, for just another few breaths, you could open your eyes for a moment, observing the space around you, and then closing the eyes. Doing that a few times, opening the eyes and closing the eyes, just to start to allow life back in. And when you feel ready, you can wiggle your fingers and toes. That little gentle bit of stretching before we return into the daily activities that await us. You can slide your belt away from your legs, rolling over to one side. And in your your own time returning back up into sitting. May this practice support you to nurture and restore you and bring a sense of well-being to your body, mind, and heart. Thank you for practicing. Namaste.